I've ranked every season from each chapter thus far, except Chapter 1. I saved the best for last. Basically, I'm going to go through each season and give it a score from 1 to 10 based on how good I think it was. But before we get into the video, just want to say, be sure to subscribe, like this video if you like this kind of content, use code RivenTheNumShop. Anyways, love you, enjoy the video. So, since there's 10 seasons in Chapter 1, I'm going to try to condense the description of each season down a little bit just to save time. First up, we got Season 1, the classic OG Fortnite. There's definitely something to be said about it. This is the original recipe. They've improved on it over time and messed it up a few times, but it's been the product of success over the years. I mean, they made a whole permanent game mode out of it just recently, and it's pretty fun. I will say it's not as great if you count out nostalgia and also compare it to other seasons. It was very basic in terms of everything. There was no turbo build, the map was super bland, the weapons were pretty bland, there weren't really a lot of skins, anything poppy to get your attention. It was just a lot less overall, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for its time. It just wasn't on as large of a scale as we have now. That being said, the gameplay was great. Say what you want about it being too slow paced and hard to play, but this was good gameplay. There were definitely some issues like double pump and the ARs being really powerful and all the bugs and glitches in the game, but it was overall very fun. The skill gap was also non-existent pretty much, which is hard to even imagine in our current state, but it made it super fun to play back then. You weren't hopeless when you died and complaining about ping and lag because no one really built anyway. There's a reason Season 1 is so highly talked of, and that's because of the gameplay. It had a magic to it. I don't know how else to describe it. I do think Season 1 was a bit boring in terms of updates and content, but that's okay. They were just kind of trying to figure it out. I'm feeling a very strong 8 for Season 1. Season 2. Fortnite ramped up tremendously in Season 2. Great map additions with Tilted Towers, Junk Junction, Haunted Hills, Snobby Shores, and Shifty Shafts. It gave the map a much needed update and also gave the players more than like 3 good drop spots. Tilted Towers was the place to be back in those days. This season just added so much. So many LTMs, so many weapons. Freaking mini shields and the Chug Jug were added this season. It was so influential. I mean, come on. This season just changed the game so much while still kind of keeping the same gameplay format. They incrementally added items to the game, which made it fun, but it still had that same charm and magic as Season 1 did. Not to mention, this is when the game got its first Battle Pass and winter event since it started in December, so it started to find its identity and marketability in a big way. This is almost as perfect and pure as Fortnite gets. Nothing too flashy, just fun items, good gameplay, and vibes. The only thing that was annoying really was the double pump, but only a select few actually knew how to use it and abused it. I'm feeling a 9.7 for this season. And then we got Season 3. This is prime Fortnite. There's never really been a season better than this one, except maybe Season 4, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So there were virtually no issues with Season 3 at all. They nerfed double pumping, so it wasn't as broken anymore, and they fixed a lot of the bugs that were so prevalent in Seasons 1 and 2. And just like Season 2, they added a lot of items throughout the season to keep the game fresh. Also, this is around when the rocket launch event happened and Fortnite was starting to find its story and, in turn, its identity. This is when Fortnite started to do everything on a bigger scale while still maintaining that early magic that it had. Not to mention, this season also just happened to have the best and most iconic battle pass of all time. And as a result of that, cosmetics became a more integral part of the game, which also helped the game find its identity. Also, just some of the best gameplay of any battle royale game ever this season. Really, the only issue with this season is the fact that it didn't really have a lot of movement still. Other than that, it's a perfect season, so it gets a score of 9.9. And then we got Season 4. This is also prime Fortnite. This is the first time we saw a map change as a direct effect of something that happened in the storyline. That being the meteor turning Dusty Depot into Dusty Divot. There were also some other little craters in the map as well with hop rocks. This is the first season that movement items became more common and usable every game. We got jetpacks, hop rocks, and shopping carts were added as the first vehicle. Lots more items added to the game, just like Seasons 2 and 3. And this is also when we got our first big collab with the Infinity Gauntlet LTM, which was super cool and fun to play at the time, because we'd never seen anything like it at the time. Another really iconic battle pass which helps sell the game to players. And this is when everybody was playing Fortnite. The game really separated itself from the other BR games this season, and everyone knew it. Oh my goodness, playground mode. This was also super impactful. One, because it was super fun to have the map all to yourself and be able to do whatever you want. And two, it eventually led to creative and everything else that we have today. This is probably the most impactful and fun season the game ever saw, so I'm gonna give this season a 10. And then we got Season 5. Now, this is my personal favorite season. I don't know if it's because it was the first summer season or Paradise Palms was added, or because this is kind of when I first consistently played, but no matter the exact reason, I love this season. The vibes were immaculate, the desert biome was awesome, golf carts were sick, the loot pool was crazy, and this is also when we got actual movement items in the game. Grappler, Shockwaves, Rift-to-Goes, which, by the way, are just casually 3 of the best movement items they've ever added. This was a fantastically fun season. Now, the one problem with this season is that I think the skill gap started to get wider here. I didn't really explain that for the first 4 seasons, so everyone was around the same skill level for seasons 1 and 2 and kind of 3 and 4 as well. And that kind of contributed to how fun early Fortnite was. That was kind of the magic of it. This season though, I felt like the skill gap kind of widened a little bit, which made it not as fun sometimes. We all know how it feels to die to somebody better than us. That is literally the only problem I had with this season though. So it gets a 9.9. And then we got Season 6. This season lives in a strange area inside my brain. It's not like one of my favorite, but it was still a pretty good season. This is when Kevin the Cube kind of dominated the storyline and theme of the season, really. This was the first real Fortnite Maris, which was pretty cool, and the gameplay was pretty good overall. The skill gap did continue to separate, which made the game a little less fun at times. There weren't too many map changes, except the floating island, obviously, moving around the map, and then the little purple corrupted areas that were kind of scattered around. Weapon meta was actually really fun and interesting. We got the Spaz this season, so that's pretty epic. I remember Playground was really big this season for like build fights and breaking sniper records and all that stuff. And the introduction of Quad Crashers kind of helped streamline that process, which, by the way, Quad Crashers are a fantastic vehicle. This was also, I think, the fall skirmish, so more competitive events for the repertoire. I actually got my first solo win this season, so that's pretty epic. This season was good, it just wasn't quite as fun or exciting as other seasons in Chapter 1 to me. The changes weren't as revolutionary and different, so the season wasn't quite as good. So I'm feeling an 8.5 for this season. And then we got Season 7. This season was crazy. This was probably the biggest shift in the game up to this point. Brand new snow biome with 3 brand new POIs, brand new vehicle with planes, mythic weapon with the Infinity Blade, and it was broken. This season was just crazy with changes and additions. This is the first season with like a proper winter event, and it was cool. The whole map had snow on it for a certain amount of time. I forget how long it was. That was really pretty. Great weapon meta besides the Infinity Blade and planes for a little bit. Those were actually pretty big issues for a while, but they eventually fixed them. Creative had its introduction this season, and the block was kind of the first project they tackled. The block was a really cool idea too. Map creators had a chance to show off their work on the actual BR map, which is so cool. Imagine being one of those map creators and like having your stuff on the BR map. Like that's so insane. And this is when like millions of people were playing the game. These were just the best vibes. And then, of course, at the end of the season, there was the Armageddon Ice King event, whatever you want to call it. And at the time, that was pretty cool as well. There was just so much in the game, and it all added up and kept the game fun and interesting. It was a little chaotic at times, but I don't think it ever got to the point to where it overwhelmed me. I'm feeling a 9.4 for this season. Season 8. This is another really good season. Best seasonal map of all time, not even a question. The addition of the jungle biome really made the map complete. This is how you do a jungle biome. Epic, I hope you were taking notes. This was a pirate themed season, so we got treasure maps, which were super cool. We also got the pirate cannon and the Lazy Lagoon pirate ship. I think they did really well with the pirate theme. We saw the cool stuff, but it wasn't overpowering to the actual gameplay. Chapter 1 was so good with balance. It had themes that were really cool, but they never let it affect the actual gameplay too much most of the time. Weapon meta this season was fantastic. This is also when Arena was officially introduced into the game. Competitive up until this point was actually pretty exclusive, but now anyone could play. And remember when I said that the skill gap was wider in Season 5? It kept progressively getting wider as the seasons went along, and this was the solution. Honestly, very good idea by Epic. Now, this didn't fix all the issues because a lot of kids would still sweat in pubs, but this kind of lifted the burden a bit. We also got Siphon for the first time this season. Epic, please bring Siphon back for the love of the Lord. And it was a pretty good battle pass too. Peely was introduced this season as well. Oh my gosh. Ballers were introduced, one of the most fun vehicles to use. Shadow Bombs, one of the most fun movement items to use. Flint Knock, one of the coolest and most fun weapons to use. This season was just full of fantastic stuff. Really, the one big issue was the skill gap, but like I said, they added Arena. I'm feeling a 9.5 for this season. Season 9. This is another really fun season, and as much as I do like it, I think this is where Chapter 1 took a kind of bad turn. This is kind of when there was so much in the game that it was kind of overwhelming. I personally like more things, but I do see how it's too much. Simple is better to me when it comes to Fortnite. If you can achieve the same effect with fewer changes, you should do it. This season was not a case of that. I think they added a new weapon every week in July of this season, or maybe it was the whole season, I can't remember. So a new gun every week. I absolutely love that idea, but it did kind of make the loot pool a bit crammed. The map changes were a lot as well. This is a pretty drastic theme shift now that I'm looking at it, going from a pirate theme to a futuristic theme, which, I mean, I love the futuristic theme, by the way. I love the wind tunnels, the little sky platforms, Neo tilted, all that jazz. This is when competitive got really big as well due to the Fortnite World Cup. Fortnite World Cup was super fun to watch with how crazy this meta was. This was a very good season. It was just a lot, and it wasn't always good. So I'm feeling an 8.5 for this season. And then we got Season X, Fortnite's first bad season. Well, at the time. Looking back, it really wasn't that bad. Yes, mechs were stupid and made the game not fun most of the time because they were impossible to fight, yada yada yada. But almost everything else was really cool. Now, remember when I was talking about the weapon meta for Season 9 and that it was a lot and one could view it as overwhelming? Well, the exact same thing can be said about Season X, except with the map. There were so many changes, both before the season and mid-season. I personally like it, but I can see why people would say it's overwhelming. Theme this season was kind of lackluster. They kind of just piggybacked off the futuristic theme from Season 9. This is when it became very obvious that Chapter 1 needed to end. Like, they were just adding random stuff, making a whole bunch of changes without any real theme. So this was the first FNCS, which is great. I mean, I love the addition of FNCS, but it did kind of divide the community a little bit because of how sweaty players were. Season 9 and 10 were both pretty bad with that, but this season especially, it was highlighted. Then, of course, we got the Black Hole event at the end of the season, and Fortnite shut completely down for like 3 days. Overall, this season definitely wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible, especially looking back and also comparing it to what we have now. I'm feeling a 6.9 for this season. So with all that being said, the average season score for Chapter 1 is an impressive 9.0, which means yes, it is the best chapter based on my scores. Surprise, surprise. It's not particularly close either. The best season of Chapter 1 according to my scores is actually Season 4, surprisingly. And the worst season according to my scores is Season X. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. Just be sure to subscribe, like this video, use code Brivy in the item shop. And anyways, I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.